take a look at what I plan to cover. So as I go through the agenda, here's the 5 different topics that we're going to hit, kind of the bullet points that I'm looking to cover for each one. So we've got Smart Connect, SmartPost, SmartView, Smartlyst Builder, and Extender. I really hope that they add a Smart onto Extender at some point, just to, you know, round it out really nice. But so that's kind of the idea and where I plan to go, just so everybody knows, and you know, it keeps me on track. If I waver a little bit and start talking about something else, please just somebody say something. So first one to talk about is Smart Connect. What is Smart Connect? Okay, think of Smart Connect as the middle ground from you guys. Integration Manager over here, okay, out of the box integration point for GP, something that you can use to integrate data into GP and so on. Smart Connect sits between that and Scribe. Scribe being the, you know, kind of the Mercedes Cadillac version of integration tools where you can get into real nitty-gritty programming, business flows, business rules, things of that sort. So the Smart Connect kind of fits into that. Got your tag there, Chris. If security stops you along the way, let me know. So, Smart Connect, in a nutshell, it's the tool dedicated to simplifying the integration process for customers, and it works with both GP and CRM. So, as you know, we're a GP and a CRM shop, and it's good to know that those two will work together well. It also works with a lot of other areas. So, how does it work? What does it do? So it takes data out of GP, creates an XML. Okay, what does that mean? Okay, well, it takes Excel data, it pushes it to CRM, and turns it into an XML file. It'll move data from one GP database to another and create transactions along the way. I've seen that before. We've got a customer that uses Scribe for that type of scenario, where they're moving transactions from one company to another and so on. So, and then read GP data and create more GP data. So we're talking about adding processes and having Smart Connect feed additional transactions and additional data as it would move through. Diagram right there, just kind of an overall enveloping, you know, how this thing can work. Just a nice little visual that I decided to acquire from their website as I was going through all these different elements and things for the presentation. So key features. As we're looking at Smart Connect, that maybe set it apart from other integration tools. So transformation, first one. What that does is, let's say, okay, every time you get a file for Integration Manager, you get the file from an outside source, you get it from a vendor, you get it from a customer, whatever it may be. There's probably some massaging that you have to do to that data once you get it. Okay, you got to take that data, you got to work it, you got to make it into the columns that work with Integration Manager or whatever you're using. Smart Connect allows you to set up those templates. Okay, I got the file structure from my customer the first time. I set up that mapping. All I got to do is plug that file in each time based off of my already preformed template that I have assigned to that. So you can get the data however you want from the customer, plug it in, massage it one time, and then you're off to the races. So finish the legwork. Next one is scheduling. Exactly what it sounds like. You can set these things up on schedule to go as often as you want them to. So they can be an instant, they can go, you know, daily, monthly, hourly, minutely, you know, all sorts of different aspects. But the ability to set those and run them at the time that you want them to run. So after hours, things like that. If you've got large batches of stuff that you're processing, depending on your environment, it can slow some things down, just depending on the amount of data that it's trying to push through. So setting up the scheduler to pick up after hours or at a downtime or a low time in the day is a nice thing to add in there. Data source, just wanted to add that one in there, is the ability to pull from multiple different types of data. So Excel spreadsheets, Access databases, CSV files, other GC databases, other CRM databases, all sorts of different things. And we'll see a screen that actually shows off some of those in the selection list. Import and export capabilities. So it can both import and export data for a variety of destinations. So once again, back to that concept of we've got the ability to pull data in, massage it, send it back out. So you've got a lot of different flexibility there. Last one is the web service. Can't speak so much to it, but just have the understanding that Smart Connect does have that tie-in to web services that may allow broader aspects of programming development and things of that sort to accommodate different needs, especially with outside vendors that may rely upon web services or feeding via web services to get into the system. So first one to look at that I wanted to show, and it just, you can kind of get that idea of all the different sources that you can go from there. But the bulk data load integration, I just thought was a key one to mention. Think of that in regards, okay, you got this large Excel spreadsheet, you've got 15 tabs filled out with data that you're mining, you're setting up, you're configuring yourself. The bulk load allows you to take that one spreadsheet and load each sheet into the system. So kind of a cool concept there that it'll go through and weed through each sheet and do the bulk load based off of that. Different mapping capability. So as we look through that, you can just see right there, okay, we've got an export that we can work with. There's our CRM, there's GP, there's stored procedures, SQL tables, Salesforce, okay, and then a regular XML file. So there's all sorts of different things from the already defined to maybe the undefined that you're doing for special circumstances where vendors don't have one of these types of business systems to work with. Existing mapping and logs of run date. I just wanted to show off some of the screens as we're working through this. This is exactly what it looks like. When's the last time that it ran? What is it that's running? What's configured out there? What do I have active? Different things like that. And a breakdown, just a nice, real easy breakdown of what types of data sources you're looking at in your management console. Here's that design to mapping, like I was talking about. So you get a file, left side of the screen, you're looking at what's in the file, right side of the screen, you're saying where it's going. So you've got all the definition on the left-hand side, mapping it to the right-hand side, and you're saving it. You're saving that map ID to the system so that you don't have to do it again. If it's out there, you may have some modifications as they do upgrades or they make changes to their system, but essentially you've got the legwork out of the way so you don't have to constantly manage this. Set of tasks for completed processes and steps. So firing off an email. Let me know that something actually happened. As much as we like everything just magically work behind the scenes, we also like those notifications to say, yes, it actually did something, or it failed, or something else happened along the way. So just being able to set that up and setting up an entire email chain for it to go out to, and how it's going to react upon failure, or what it's going to do for the next steps, and set up this entire hierarchy for, hey, completed step 1, go to the next step, completed step 2, so we're sending out all these different notifications as it works along. So I just wanted to show off a little bit. So I know the question is, at least from an integration manager standpoint, what's the difference? What do we have for it? And of course, when I pulled down the things, they got all these big flashy things for theirs, and then integration managers says this little simple white box, but still you get the kind of the idea of what they're showing off, what they're specifying in SmartConnect as what it can handle versus what integration manager can necessarily do. So it really, like I said, it takes that step up and gives you kind of a more user-friendly interface below Stripe, but above integration manager to do some more dynamic type integrations with your system. So just real quick on the right-hand side there, what SmartConnect can do, what integration manager can do or can't do. So CSV files, yes, proposed, but then SmartConnect pretty much takes the board for the rest of it. So export data, integrate CRM, integrate Extender, so another product that I'll be talking about along the way. And you notice that kind of trend and stuff as I cover these is that all of these products in some shape or form can communicate with one another. So you got these 5 products that kind of build the spider web effect as you work through it. The next one is SmartPost. What is SmartPost? In a nutshell, SmartPost is a way to post all your batches for you. No longer have to do it. It's an unattended batch posting process available for GP. Okay? So kind of a set and forget. Set up criteria in the system, have the batches meet that criteria in the batch ID or whatever definition that you define for it. They pick up based off of your scheduling and such. So it's kind of that, have people throw stuff into that into that batch, and you know at intervals during the course of the day that it's going to go out and pick those up and send them on through the system and post them for you. So you don't have to have somebody babysitting. So how does it work? Okay, I understand this one. Dedicated machine to be the posting robot. I get it. I understand. So one of the strategies that I could suggest to this, if you were picking up SmartPost, is that if you don't want to tie up a SmartPost GP user, purchase a GP user for that, and you don't want to tie up a machine fully dedicated to it, then have all of the SmartPost things scheduled for after hours. When your user or the user that you designate would be gone for the day, and then your user could be used. So just some different strategies that you could do. But so you would set it up, set up the posting user, and leave them logged into GT at all times. So you never leave the system essentially at that point, or whoever it may be. There's other programs that have that same type of concept too. Define the schedules, and the requirements, and then the robot's on its way. So see all my robots working together here in unison. But that's the idea, is that unattended, automated way to have your batches posted in the system. Leave it alone, forget about it. You'll get notifications as it runs through. So what's it look like? So set up a routine. Okay, give it a name, what series, give the batch source, where batch number, email address, and so on and so forth. So you define some of the base level stuff. As we go through that, we get a little bit more options. So, all right, we're in financial. We're choosing the batch for a general journal entry. Contain. So all the batch ID has to do is contain imports in this case, and then it's going to pick up in our routine. So that means you could have all sorts of prefixes on the beginning of that, but as long as import is somewhere in that batch ID, SmartPost is picking it up. How often that schedule wants to run? Daily. Start time, every 1 day. Repeat. Lots of different options there to be able to push these things through. So then you can see here, I just wanted to show it off. This batch ID does have import in it. So we key in, we have all the batches out there. It does keep the same business rules in place that you can't post a batch while somebody's in it, so the SmartPost isn't going to pick up while somebody's working on this batch. It's the same as if you tried to get in and do a post while somebody was accessing and working with a batch in GT. Get a queue. So just the same way as if you went out to GT Process Monitor or something along those lines, you get that same view of being able to look at what's going on, what's running, especially in the sense that I don't see any of my financial data yet for this batch. Okay, well, it's probably still running, or something else is going on with it, but this is at least your area to be able to look at that information as you push through. Routines can trigger email and event notifications. So great. Ran through and posted. How do we know? Well, of course, you could go in and you see your financials and your transactions and stuff updating out there, but also get an email notification just to say it. I think probably the nicest thing about it is, hey, by the way, not only does it tell us that it posted, but it can attach that posting journal. So it can send that posting journal with it, so you don't have to go back in and reprint it. You don't have to kick it out to the printer somewhere. Unattended process, it just shows up in your email, and you can save that world in the world if you want to at that point, or print it out yourself. This example was terrible, though, because it's totally dropping off letters, and I don't know if that was just theirs or could be the form altogether. So a few of those notable features I just wanted to mention for this. So multi-company, the ability for SmartPost to work in multiple companies, and SmartPost will log into each one and do your posting for you. So it can work across companies if you have multiple databases. Meant to be an ask for hours type situation. So while your team's sleeping, getting the necessary sleep that they need to come in the next day before caffeinating, can be after hours. After import, use Smart Connect or Integration Manager to import data. So once again, I was talking about that, these products having ties to one another. Okay? Add Smart Connect or Integration Manager to this to help pick up the process. Okay? Integration Manager fires in a batch of transactions. Batch ID in our integration matches our criteria and our routine. All of a sudden you have integration rolling large amounts of transactions in the system. You have SmartPost picking it up to finish the process. Reiterating on that schedule again, just wanted to show the increments has listed out there. So instant, as soon as it shows up and it's available and nobody's modifying it, post it through every 30 minutes, hourly, daily, monthly. So it can be on any one of those occasions that you can imagine. Monthly is a good example if you've got recurring GL like transactions or something. The monthly basis that could run through and post those for you. And then define which batches from which series should post. So we call the general journal. It could be a lot of different ones. It could be just that specific module that makes sense. So you may have individuals that are going to monitor and take care and babysit the ones in sales or purchasing. But on your other side, for maybe a payables or AR, it makes more sense for it to be more of an automated system because you want your cash to be updated as soon as possible and so on. Next one is SmartView. Who in here has seen or worked with SmartView in the past? Love it? Yeah. All right. Most people love it. All in love with it. I know Chris back there is a big proponent of SmartView now. He likes it. So, in a nutshell, what is SmartView? Okay. How many of you have gotten into Smartlyst and said, love it, want to summarize it? Yeah. All right. So that's the idea of SmartView. It gives you the ability to group and summarize data. It also gives you a lot more flexibility of filtering. So unlimited filtering. So you're not limited to those 4 that are out there just off of the base Smartlist. So grouping, filters, it's similar. You know, it's got totals. You can do all different things. Probably the coolest one that I was working through right at the moment, too, is that it's available outside of GP. So for the longest time, Smartlyst has been, got to have GP, got to be in GP for it. SmartView has an external component that you can hook up to it that allows you to run those outside of GP. So GP users. Let's take a look. I threw this in just because I found humor in it and thought it was probably time to add that into the presentation. So what's the difference? Drink less coffee? All right, great. It's the guarantee that SmartView is going to help you get information much faster. And that's exactly right. No more of having to model up the data in Smartlyst, export it to Excel, and then manipulate it, massage it into what you're looking for it to be. You can have your time cut in half, hopefully by getting that all emulated right through SmartView. So go and get it yourself. So less stupid questions. I love that they have that posted on the website. So that's exactly what it is. Somebody comes up, says they want to get this information out of the system. I'd really like to see what's my total of orders for the month. Go check that. Here's a link to SmartView. Hop into the SmartView and put it together. Or you put it together for them and they don't have to come back to you again for any type of totals or anything like that. Especially with that inside of GP, outside of GP accessibility. Do it your way. Make it yourself. Just the same way as you came with Smartlyst and making it ownership to yourself, where you've got your columns where you want them, named the way you want, everything. Save it to yourself. One of the big features within SmartView is the fact that you can set up a SmartView and define it to a specific set of users, the entire company, or use a role. So you can really define it out and say, all right, I just made this. I love it. Nobody else is going to love it, so I'm just going to kind of hide it over here, and nobody's going to see what I just did for myself. Or you're going to be, open and hopefully making something beneficial for everybody. Get out of jail. Okay, gone are the days of seeing data one way, predefine the way you like, but maintain the freedom to mix, match, and change what you are looking for. So that flexibility of being able to massage, move data around and group differently and have it structured in specific ways that you're looking for. It's just that, once again, that overall governing flexibility that they're holding within that. And then BI without the BI. So we would smile at that one, but the ability to get in and have business intelligence easily accessible through SmartView without necessarily having to go a full BI solution. So you can get a lot of out-of-the-box functionality to it. So let's take a look. So what can SmartView do? So I threw this one together yesterday on my system. Just wanted to put something together to give you an idea kind of what we're looking at. So just looking at this and the way that it breaks down looks very similar to Smartlyst. When you look at it, it's structured in the same way. You see all the different folders and selection criteria within each one. It doesn't carry the favorites over from one, so that's one little piece that you have to be aware of is that if you have a Smartlyst built right now that has all different filters and stuff set into it, chances are you're going to have to go through and recreate that in some shape or form to make it work with that. But just know that it is worth it in the end. So what do I have? I have these grouped by a month. So it's showing me May 2014 and then a customer and his invoices. And then I have a couple of filters up, a couple of groups up the top there, and then I've got some filtering going on down at the bottom. If you can see that, it's very white, but you can't see that. But I wanted to show it off over on the right-hand side too. So what can I do? So summarizing the data, grouping the data, dates, have a real nice interval function that you can plug onto them to have it go months or years, things of that sort, so that it drops them into those buckets, because I know one of the other things is, okay, as we're looking at dates, we don't want to see, the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth. We want it to be dropped into, nice buckets for it. Filters. There's lots of additional filters out there, so you're not limited to some of the ones that are out there. I'm trying to think of which one it is that's my favorite out of there that wasn't always in the other one. Does not eat. I think that's one of the The ones that I'm asked about quite often is, it's not this one, or it doesn't equal this one, or something along those lines, or does not contain was another good example. But that's it. That's the entire list of things that I could add on to my filtering. You can see my filtering screen right behind there, where I could just keep saying and drilling in and adding so many different ones. The other piece to add to that, too, is the copy function. So just like you have... I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm not looking up enough. Who had a question? No one. All right. Thanks for the heads up, though. If I don't see you the first time, wait for longer. All right. So the other piece to add to that I wanted to talk about is you always have a Smartlist where you would pull it up, you run it, and then hit the export and have it roll out to Excel at that point. In here, it's got a real quick little thing where you could select the range of information. So up in the upper left-hand corner, you can see where it's got a select all and then a copy. So I can go up and I can select a range of information, either by select all or by selecting it within there, copy and paste that to Excel real quick. And it'll keep the formatting and the column structure and such. So nice little addition of information. I also wanted to show this off. What you're looking at here is actually the outside version of SmartView. It's exactly the same. Functions exactly the same. That user has access to be able to pull up and run those just as he would from within GP. So once again, having that license and that version of SmartView opens the table for, once again, that ability for a user who doesn't use GP, doesn't need to be in GP, to be able to access this information and work with it. So a lot of very strong capabilities there of having its own standalone version of that product. So before I hit through Smartlist Builder, because this is a good chunk of stuff, any questions up to this point on any of the other products that we've talked about? Yeah.
On the SmartView, how do you control security with access to essentially have access to the accounting data now? How do you control security as to who can access what views and what reports?
So SmartView is built off of the same security that's designed behind Smartlist. So if a user got into Smartlist now and they don't see financial on there, same concept in SmartView.
I see.
Yeah, it all works in tandem. It's feeding off the same security roles and such that are out there. Yeah.
In SmartView, is the database expanded beyond what it is in Smartlist?
Seeing that you could add in
like for example,
and other databases and tables and things like that.
Yeah, like you go in to look for a column and it's not there.
Okay. And that'll be one of the things that I touch on in the extended part also, but it's all of the things that have already been out. So if there wasn't a column in your existing Smartlist, then it wouldn't show up in SmartView. All it is doing is emulating what's already available in Smartlist as it is at the moment. But you could use Builder in that case, or in a future session, Smartlist Designer. You could use that to maybe surface those pieces of data. Okay. So Smartlist Builder. How many Smartlist Builder users in? A few more? A few? Okay. So Smartlist Builder, everybody understands the concept, but let me talk about it a little bit. Smartlist Builder allows you to build and create brand new Smartlist with a wide array of different pieces of functionality to do so and ways to do so in the system. So create brand new Smartlist. Also, new enhancement that I'll be showing off, and one of the new features that I saw while I was at Convergence and is now out with R2 is the ability to create easily from existing Smartlists. So that idea of we've got Smartlist Builder, but I've got this one that I was working with before that's pretty much where I want it to be, and I just want to add in a few stuff. You can actually work from existing Smartlists in the system now. So what does Smartlist Builder contain? Okay, kind of an overall envelope of different products. So you've got Builder, you've got Navigation List Builder, got Excel Report Builder, and Drilldown Builder. So a few of those are all contained within that Smartlist Builder path that we look at within there. So first things first, so Smartlist Builder, what does it do? Okay. It all works together with those other products that we were looking at out there. The ability for the Builder pack to feed in to SmartView and help enhance those. So you start with Smartlist Builder, build the raw data, take it to the next level of SmartView to get your summarize level of data. SmartPost, I added this one in. It wasn't actually on their original information, but I wanted to put it in there just, once again, adding in that capability of branching out to multiple different smart products at once. So using Smartlist as a data source, the SmartConnect, Cool idea. Okay, we've got a Smartlyst out there that we're using as the data source. And then also using the Excel report builder and SmartConnect to push data back to GP. So we've got an Excel report builder that kicks things out to Excel, builds the data, massages it in the way that we're looking for it to, summarizes it, maybe does some other calculations, so we can push that back in. So a couple different strategies that you can use with these products as you're working through. So Excel report builder, what is it? Out of the box, it gives you a way of being able to take your Smartlyst that you've already developed and throw it out to Excel in a refreshable format that somebody can pull up on a day-by-day basis. So if you were always finding yourself exporting these to Excel in the first place, use Excel Report Builder to kick them out there. What it's going to do is it's going to take and it's going to put that data out. It's going to create a SQL view for it so that it is. It's that direct call to the database, refresh the data that you've designated. All that user has to do is go out to the published location for this, which can feed into any one of the modules in GP, pull it up, hit refresh data, and it refreshes the data just as it would if they pulled that Smartlyst up to them. So that's the idea, of being able to take and bridge the gap between Excel and Smartlyst and say, you know what, this one makes perfect sense to always live in Excel. Okay, great. We use that as a case. If it makes sense to live in GP, we have to live in GP. Navigation list. Anybody big proponent of navigation lists in the system, use it for any shape or form? I know it's pretty rough, 2010 and younger. The reason for that is because it's pulling up a whole load of data. I know now with some of the future ones, a little bit of headache sometimes depending on the KPIs that you have linked in there. But Navigation List Builder in here gives us the ability to build some additional navigational type windows. To be able to push through and maybe fire off transactions to delete large arrays of data. I've used this before for selecting a range of items to delete out of the system that were brought in from an integration and were inactive and they just wanted to wipe them out. So we brought them in with a specific thing after integration and we were able to take them. So keeping those types of things in mind. So creating your own list, a way to be able to drive the workflow elements around the system. Drilldown Builder. I added this one in. This one goes hand in hand with the Excel builder. And think of it in regards of any time that, and if you've ever used one of the SRS reports or anything like that, whenever you would click on a hyperlink and it takes you from the report back to GP, that's what this is going to help you do. So that Drilldown Builder would go in hand with Excel Report Builder, and let's say that we created that Excel spreadsheet that had the customer data on it, and we wanted to make the customer name a hyperlink back to GP. Drilldown Builder, we could do that, where we would say that this customer should tie us right back into GP, and the user would be able to, from that Excel report, click on that and hop back into the customer maintenance window or whatever we designate for it. So a lot of flexibility there of being able to build these drill downs to go back to data in the system. So you got summarize level up here, ability to click on it and drill in further to back to the GP window or another function that you deem necessary in your workflow. New and notable. So I wanted to add these out here as what can you expect to see if you're on Smartlyst Builder or using any of the packs, the extended packs at the moment, in the latest release. One of the biggest ones, and for anybody who's doing data mining or data modeling or looking for data in the system, or, you know what, I'm in this window, what in the world is this field? I don't know what I'm looking for, especially when I get in Smartlyst or whatever. Table Finder. Big enhancements that they've added out here to make it nice and user-friendly to find a field and even create a Smartlyst directly from a window that you're in the system. How does it work? So we're in item history right now. If you've ever been in that window where it tells us period information for an item, and I go up to my tools, I say Table Finder, okay? Takes me in, pulls up my Table Finder, and right at that moment, it's already referenced the window that I'm in. It is showing me all the different tables that are contained within that one window. It's also giving me a list of fields. It's also telling me the table name and database, the friendly name, all of the information that I would need if I was a developer and I was going out to SQL Server right now and I was going to type in select star from something. I can find it all within this window. Oh, great. It becomes a great developer tool where they don't have to go to resource descriptions or an Excel spreadsheet to find this type of thing. They can use this. But from a user standpoint, down in my bottom left, you see where I can create a Smartlyst, create an Excel report, create a navigation list directly from that window. Very cool. I pull up item history. I say I want to create a smart list from this where I get period information for my items. It creates smart list. It pops up. What would you like to call it? Give it a name, and then it pops me right into Smartlyst Builder to get started on working with it. So maybe it sets the ground rules for me, and okay, it's got the sales summary history. It's at least got me started, and I could add in my item master and any other areas that I could possibly think of wanting to add to that. So it takes away that unknown stuff. I don't know what this field is, or looking at the database, there's these crazy naming schemes for the field name. So it's a lot of different things out there that this helps facilitate from a user standpoint. Next one, easily create or modify existing smart lists. So one of the things you'll notice most of all if you get into GP 2013 is a new or modify button in the upper left-hand corner, which I will be talking about Smartlyst Designer, which ties into that a little bit. But from a Smartlyst Builder standpoint, I can click and I can go directly from here to create a new smart list. So now they've added that functionality into the window so that I can jump right from there to create a new smart list. But the other side of it is I can select an existing smart list and hit modify, add different data elements to it, or update it further from that point. So there's some of those ideas there that you don't have to start from scratch every time you're going to work with a smart list anymore. You can get in and start from something you already have out. I know there's some gotchas to it that I've ran into just recently where selecting a smart list as a data source caused a few issues, but I'm still working through some of them. But other than that, it seems to be pretty sound in the way that it works. Other side of it, one of the big aspects is, okay, well, I've got this wonderful smart list that's working for me out there. I'm able to click on it. I'm able to jump to customer information, customer inquiry, sales inquiry, any of those different go-tos that are defined out. Whenever I create from, it picks up all my go-tos for me that already exists in that pre-existing smart list. So once again, laying that foundation and helping drive you to a new smart list where you don't have to recreate everything that's out. Next one. And I just wanted to add this on here because I know this was a big question that was out there, and you know, people make comments that there's this overwhelming, vast amount of knowledge that's out on the web. People like Victoria Uden and other Microsoft MVPs that are posting SQL queries, SQL views. You'll hear us ramble off that we're going to create a SQL view. And they're all out there. They look terrible when you look at them. But as a user, you don't necessarily know exactly what they're doing with it. You just know that these people have massaged it in a way that's going to give you something beautiful in the end of it. And they say so, but getting it to that point sometimes can be painful. Being able to use Smartlyst Builder to start with that SQL query, I could go out and find one of those SQL queries, copy it from Victoria Uden's website, whatever it may be, throw it in here, and all of a sudden I've got a smart list built off of that query that was just available out there on the web. So opening that doorway to you to take someone else's programming work and make it into something tangible for yourself, you just open the door for potentially thousands of reports out of the box. So then I can take that. You can see my little web page sitting here. There's Victoria's name. She'd be happy that I'm showing her name off a little bit. You'd grab her stuff. You would pull it in and put it in SQL script area. You preview it, and then you'll notice over here on my window that it is specifying that it is a SQL script. There's my field list, and I'm on my way. So that flexibility and being able to open up that door and bridge that gap, very large push that they got through there. So next one out of the fabulous 5, I'm going to give it that name, is Extender. So what is Extender? An extender is our ability to do exactly that, extend the functionality of GP. Okay, you've got all these wonderful windows that are out there, and they have a very limited set of fields potentially for your needs, especially migrating from your old system to a new system, especially if there was heavy customization or anything along those lines. So Extender gives us that ability to add on new windows, fields, or even new data entry windows, so some different concepts there. They also add in some new abilities to handle logic in the enterprise version of it. So being able to not only, all right, I just added 15 new fields to this window, great, I've got a place to stick my data, but now I need some logic based off of that. So there are different elements to that they've added into this product that really make it sing. So I just wanted to show off some examples of the very simple to more than what I would deem is out there. I want everybody to know that the windows that we're seeing, with the exception of this one, but the next one that we get into and the last one, actually pulled those templates from there. So they actually are on the eOne website, available for you to download now. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you wanted to get some legwork, or especially if you were evaluating this thing and looking at it, and you wanted to go out, see exactly what this window would look like in one of your databases, you could pull those in and look at those templates. But so very simple. Let's say I'm in the customer master, and instead of having 55 different addresses set up so that I can have a place to enter contact, they use Extender to create a table for housing contact information for a customer. Just that simple. Extender data can be surfaced in Smartlyst. It can be surfaced on forms and different areas like that. So once it becomes part of GP here, it can be surfaced in different areas to be utilized on, let's say, an order form or something like that if we needed to. But it's very simple. I've got 15 customer contacts that I can look up and need an email address or a phone number for. This would be a perfect example of that. Instead of having primary address 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to handle, Joe, Bob, and James, and whoever else I have to contact out there to house in GP. The intermediate to this one in, this is one of their templates out there for rentals. So anybody ever handle rentals or think about handling rentals or need a place to do rentals? Not a great way out of the box in GP, but this is a rough version of a good idea and a good concept that they've built out here for handling rentals. And what type of window is this? This is a form. So essentially I've taken the Extender form and made it into a whole new type of transaction in the system. So you've got orders, you've got purchase orders, you've got vendor invoices. Now you've got rentals, the way that this is set up. So it's a completely new transaction type. And I put this little note on here. It does not create the posting, but with strategies through things like Smart Connect and things like that, you could handle integration points to have it handle through GL distribution and posting and things of that sort. So I know there are strategies on that side, but out of the box, it wouldn't necessarily handle that without some additional help and push along the way. And the last one is the advanced, and the reason that I put this one in the advanced is just because I don't fully understand what this call stuff here is in the script. If anybody does, kudos. But I added this in. This one is actually taking logic in the system and taking it a step further from the enterprise standpoint of being able to say, I want to be able to go to my vendor maintenance and create a purchase order. And I want to be able to create that purchase order from whenever I pull up my vendor in the vendor maintenance, create the PO, it's going to put my vendor ID on that PO so that I can start a purchase order. Bridging that gap from, okay, we're in the maintenance, I know I need to create a PO, you're creating these, in this way, shortcuts in what they had added out. There's a whole slew of them that they had put out there for it. But so the next level, and I spoke to two ones. So Extender standard, the out of the box, the regular one that you would buy into would be, it would contain the forms, the windows, detail forms, any of those types of things, adding new fields and processing type stuff in the system. Enterprise is that next step up. Let's say that you've been down the road and all of a sudden your forms that you've created up to that point, you want to bridge that gap, like I said, of actually feeding those into your database in some shape or form financially. Enterprise would handle that in a way of being able to add that level of logic where you could have it go through and handle more of that information, have it go through and have specific logic fire off from any of the windows that you've set up out there. So what are each one of them? So window logic. Trigger the logic to run when you open, close, or move around in an Extender window. So have it update different fields and things like that as you move around. Trigger for a form, you could have it go through and open, close, print, save, or whenever you move around. Process, perform a function for records. GP logic, it could go through and pick up and run off of some of the GP business rules or things like that, so you can pick up off the logic that's already programmed in GP to say, post something. Navigation list, being able to add in some of the additional information for the inquiry screens, searches. If you've ever seen the navigation list up at the top, it's got those different things where you can say create a PO. You can filter that into it. And then the interfaces, a lot of those areas get a lot more comfortable. They're not necessarily far on the side of programmer and stuff, but being able to tie those in and have it comfortable at that point. That's it. Some high-level walkthrough of the different products that are out there for eOne, but lots of content, lots of cool things, lots of stuff I'm loving as I go through and seeing more and more that they're doing. Just because Extender broke away from, or just because Smartlyst Builder broke away from Microsoft, now that they're their own ISV, separate from system and licensing and everything, it hasn't stopped their due diligence on upgrading and keeping it up to par. I think they always want to keep, the gap between Designer that Microsoft is putting out here like this, so Smartlyst up here, Designer that. Questions? Yes.
When you were going through the table finder, when you're in a particular window and you're on a particular field, you open the table finder, it will show you every table that particular field is in?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, and you could specifically, in that window, you could actually have it go back and select the field that you're looking at. So there actually is a field list in there. Let's say that you weren't on the field or you didn't know exactly the field or something. There's that field list in there that once you select the field, that list of tables drops down. So only those things that field would reside in.
That's great. You don't have to guess where you select tables.
Yeah.
So to clarify, it sounded like you asked every table the field existed in.
Yes.
Is it every table on the form?
On the form, yes.
So let's just clarify, meaning the customer number is permutated throughout the GP system. If you're on the customer maintenance form, it's only going to show you the customer master, maybe the address master. It's not going to show you sales order tables or history tables. So just to clarify that. That's
correct, but you can't do a field search from that window. So you could essentially go reverse engineer it and say, I need to find everywhere the customer number exists. You can start from the ground up on the table finder and have it go out and find everything. I did do that. It took a long time for one of the fields that I hit. So just fair warning ahead of time that I ran this at a client site and big mistake.
So what versions of GP or table finder are available with?
So far I've only ran into it in 2013.
R2 or regular?
R2.
So 2013 R2 is where table finder shows up.
That's where I've seen it at this point.
Okay.
But it's in the most recent release of Smartlyst Builder. If that's compatible with each of them, then yeah, it's the new feature space.
Just so you know where it's at, because I haven't seen it before either. Thank you, Sean.
Beautiful. Yeah. I was excited.
Got some other questions?
There's no way to integrate it into other databases, is there?
I'm sorry?
Does it strictly work with GP, or can you integrate other databases with it?
For which one?
For Smart Design?
For Smart View, so let's see, Smartlyst Builder, you could create views.
Yeah, Smartlyst Builder, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Smartlyst Builder, you could set up and create additional SQL views that call in data from multiple databases. So there are strategies that you could do with that where you could link in data. We've done that in the past where we link in custom tables and tables from legacy systems and things of that sort that would bring in data into Smartlyst and be able to review.
Right, because we have like a data warehouse.
Correct, yeah, and I've done it before where I've created smart views that pull in the GP data warehouse for analysis cubes, pulled in some things from that and housed it out there. But yeah, you could create something out there. One of the pieces that feeds in there is that there is a view builder in that product where you can actually build SQL views and pull in your SQL tables for. So you could go out and grab the raw table that you have from your other database and pull it into that.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Yeah. If you think anything else, I'm up here. Time.
I guess we'll release you then. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.